Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Before we get started, I'd ask everyone to please stand for a pledge and a prayer by Councilman Dale. All right, once again, thank you all for coming out. We're going to go ahead and get into our regular agenda for tonight. Item 1 on our agenda is to consider approval of the minutes for March 15th, 2022 workshop and March 15th, 2022 regular session.
After reviewing the minutes, I'll make a motion that we approve the March 15th workshop and the March 15th, 2020 regular session as presented this evening.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Vote carried unanimously. We'll now close that item on the agenda. We'll now move on to item 2. Item 2 is the presentation and review of recruitment and retention issues affecting police department, other positions within the city, and discuss options for resolutions.
Mayor and council, if you remember, we had a meeting back in January, I think it was the 18th of January, where we discussed the issues, the problems we were having in across the city, but particularly in the police department, in recruiting and retention. And we found that those issues are still prevalent, and so we've asked Chief to be here, Chief Human, to go over the information with you. Chief.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Thank you for giving me some of your time. So, I don't know what that's echoing for, but again, as the city manager said, this is one of the most pressing issues with my police department. As I mentioned last time in January, over the last 5 years, we've seen turnover of about 28 of our 33 sworn staffing. And for an agency our size, that's pretty significant to see 5 or 6 or 7 people leave each year. It's been explained to me that in the past we've been somewhat of a training ground where we train new officers, we bring them in, give them a couple of years experience, and they move on, having taken that training somewhere else for somebody else's benefit. Since we met this year, I've lost I've lost 2 more people, and I have one more that's currently has a resignation date. All 3 of those people average about 8 years of employment, and 2 of them are supervised. So I'm losing people at the age of great experience. They've been through a lot of training, and they're in the prime of their career. So that's a little discouraging for me and for us as a police department that we're not retaining those individuals. So that's kind of what we're bringing up today. Please understand that any decisions made in the near future for us are not an immediate resolution. I'll remind you that when we hire somebody, they go to the police academy, which is 6 months. We put them through about another 3 to 4 weeks of training in our house, and then they do another 14 weeks of field training. So they're about 10 months out before we actually feel anything benefiting from that original hire. Our hiring process alone takes anywhere from 2 to 4 months by the time we hold a testing process, put an announcement out, hold a testing process, do a background investigation as required by the state and for our own benefit, and then go through other stages of a hiring process as mandated by the state. So any decisions made, usually we see the effects anywhere from 14 to 18 months later. So that's kind of where we're looking at and why we're bringing this up to you today. because it's not a short-term solution for us, it's a long-term solution for us, and we'll start feeling the effects later on. As I explained to you a little bit, I think at the time we spoke, we had 5 vacancies. We now have 4 vacancies. We have 2 in the academy. They graduate in July, and the next academy start date is in August. We're currently have reached out to an academy to see if we can host one here locally before that. But as you know, since the academy has no longer been hosted here, we haven't had another academy here in Mount Pleasant in a few years. So we're weighing that as an option to see if we can put several people in, if we can continue to get a good pool of candidates. We've changed some of our tactics of recruiting. We now send recruiters to several of the academies. We're sending them to potentially to a job fair next week. We try to keep that locally because we believe our local people are more likely to get hired here and stay here and see a career here at Mount Pleasant. And that's what we want. We want people who want to be here for their career and not see our time and experience go somewhere else. The training is not only time consuming, it's also expensive for us. And it's a dedication of manpower from my people as they take time out of their day to go and spend time teaching classes for those new recruits. So as I've spoken with my employees over the last several months, they feel that this is probably the most pressing issue, is trying to fix some of our our compensation issues we have at the police department. As I spoke in January, some of the compression issues we have, anybody that I've hired since 2020, I've brought in on our current pay scale. But when I came in, we had 4 people who were on the pay scale where they should have been for their years of service. We had several who were a step behind. As you remember, in 2020, that pay step was not implemented. But then I also had, I think, 3 or 4 people who were 2 steps behind. And nobody can explain to me why we had people smattered all over the place. So that's one of the issues we're trying to rectify. We've looked at market, including local market. We've looked at police departments. We've been tracking them. When I spoke to you in January, we had done a market survey that Cheryl had done for us back in September. I believe I presented we were about 6% behind. I'm not going to be exact, but about 6% behind. We've redone that survey, which would take into consideration October budgetary changes for some of those cities. We found we're about another 4 to 5% behind additionally on top of that. So we've fallen behind a little bit, and we feel like there's no time like now to try to fix those issues so that we can see that effect in our hiring today and then see that effect on the street within the next year and a half. So the wage compression issue, I talked to you about promotional issues. We're trying to fix our promotional current pay categories. The original intention of the 10-step process was not the original intention of the recruitment company, and so we're trying to categorize or bracket our specifically our sergeants and lieutenants so that upon promotion they actually get a decent increase for those additional responsibilities and legal liability that they take upon themselves, as well as often giving up seniority and going from their cushy day shift to sometimes with weekends off back to graveyards. And so that's some compensation that makes up for several things, but also awards them for that additional liability they've taken upon themselves. I'm sure you all are aware, and please stop me if you're very familiar with this, but I'm sure you've all seen, last year we talked about the consumer price index had gone up over 7% for our area. This year it's already seen, I believe it was reported 7.9% the other day. The Texas Comptroller reports for Texas, that's about 8% for our inflation rate right now in Texas. So again, so that's kind of what I'm coming to you and speaking with the council, and I'll open it for questions and also defer. I know Ed has some comments he'd like to make, but I feel like this is probably the most important thing right now for us, is trying to fix some of these compensations so our starting pay is equitable with other agencies who we compete with to hire, but also reward those who are with us and impress upon those that are with us that we want them to stay, and so rewarding that dedication to Mount Pleasant. And so we don't just want to be competitive. We want to be, well, when I say competitive, we don't just want to be middle of the road. We want to we're a city that keeps our officers active. We expect a lot out of them. We train them a lot. We have high expectations, and we police with the best tactics. We mandate that everybody raises up to a certain standard, and we require that standard, and I believe we are there. And we continue to progress, and we continue to maintain that level of policing in the city. And my desire is that we continue to reward those who are here, but also take care of some of these inequities and compensation issues that I feel need to be resolved as soon as possible.
Thank you, Chief. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Since I've been here, there's been a lot of things we've had to do, not just with police, but citywide. And some of them had to do, and you remember, it's 2.5 years ago for some of these things, but we added to the holiday pay, and we've changed the vacation pay a little bit, and we are looking at certification pay and so forth. We've increased the longevity pay. We've tried to help the employees across the board, and it's really stuff we were doing are industry standard things that weren't being done by past administrations or in Mount Pleasant. So we wanted to try to bring it industry standard. We did do a salary survey study in 19 and 2020 and brought that to the council, which y'all approved. We put it in place. We put everybody on the plan, which took a little money in the summer, August of 2020. And then we were going to implement the step pay at that time in October 2020. You all, I'm probably just saying stuff you already know, but because it was a year of the pandemic, it was decided that we wouldn't fund or implement the step pay that year. And so then the next year was last fall, 2021, we did do a step increase, one step across the board for everybody, and a 2% cost of living increase. I think we presented the cost of living was 7%, and we decided to do the 2%. And then, again, most of the employees, and I can tell you this from talking with employees, not just police, but across the city, understood. They thought they were okay with it. They understood why we wouldn't do the step increase in 2020. It was pandemic, and they understood that. But they thought in their mind it was a kick the can down the road or a deferment of that step raise. The step plan is it's like a career ladder. In fact, police and public safety call it career ladder. If you're here a year, then you go up a step. And if we don't let those steps happen, increases happen, then what we get, and it's like this across many departments. You have people down here on the left-hand side of the grid, they stay there, and you've got people that have been here 10 years or 15 years making within 3% of what we're hiring new people in on. Every year they're worth more, they've got more experience, they ought to be moved out on the step plan. So I just wanted to go over anything that we're doing, we've been doing it, is to try to benefit, increase what we're doing, the benefits and the salary kind of thing. And I and in our discussion tonight, it was my hope that we would be able to have this discussion about trying to fix a problem without having a lot of contention or that kind of thing. And so I apologize if I created a problem, but so that's our thing. But it's the chiefs really having problems, but so is utilities having problems. Those guys are leaving, going to local industries and stuff, and so salary's a problem right now. And I've seen this in my career a couple of times as cities around us start raising it. But this is across the nation, and it's with everybody, private sector and public sector. So that's all I have. If you have questions, we'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, Council, do you have any questions?
Mayor, can I make one more statement?
Yes, sir.
So when I spoke about the 3 that I'm losing that are about 8 years, in my training experience in schooling, what they've done is, as they've studied, they found is that the first 5 years of a police officer's career, They cost us the most in training, education, and lawsuits. And then after that, as their career progresses, all that comes down. Their productivity increases, and they cost the less. They get fewer complaints. And so all that training and experience now pays off as they get to 10, 15, 20 years. And that's where they level out, and they're just smoking hot police officers as they get older. They might slow down a little bit, but they're so good at it now. I know I'll get harassed for that later, I'm certain. But that's when they really start grooving in their career. And so as I've seen it, and as I'm losing senior people, that really has me concerned, because that's the, I hate the term backbone, right? But that is what makes up a police department, is those experienced officers who on a call, they turn to the younger guy and they say, knock that off, that's not how we do things. Or they show them how to do it and they say, that's how we do it. You know, they drive down the street and they see it because they've seen it so often, they know what's different and they know what's going on, and they're able to pick stuff out where the new guys are looking, they're like, well, what are we stopping for? And that's what an 8-year officer gives you. And then as you go on to 10 and 20 and 15, or 10 and 15 and 20, they really just they continue in stride. And so losing the senior officers really hurts us as a police department. And, you know, hiring new people is great, and getting some of that fresh blood, young blood in is great. But maintaining some of that experience to teach that young blood is necessary. And so that's what really has me concerned, is the seniority we're losing and the experience we're losing, and the time and money we're going to commit to training new people who, they may stay there 3 years and leave, or they may stay longer. But the people who I know that have been here for 5, 10 years, I would assume that they now are a career here, right? And so to lose them, it kind of stings a little bit.
Let me just give you one other piece of information for your consideration as you go through the night. We have found funds within the budget from positions throughout the city that have not been filled for a number of months or whatever. So we have enough money to do, if you want to do that this mid-year, we have the money within the budget without having to take it from anyplace else, out of funds and personnel that haven't been used in the past several months to fund this.
Council, do we have any questions?
Hey, Chief, so you mentioned something about hosting our own academy. Just for our knowledge, how many of our staff would that require from your team to actually have a, viable academy that we could produce officers out of that would be good to have for future career here in Mount Pleasant?
Sure. So last year we actually reached out to the academy about trying to get one late last year to try to get some people in. At the time, they were requesting that we, as a department, teach those classes that they did not instruct as an academy. I'll ballpark that was about 300 to 400 hours of instruction we would have had to do as a police department. I can't tell you what that looks like staffing-wise, but it's 300 to 400 hours of staffing, usually 2 or 3 people teaching a class, especially as you get in. A lot of that is the operational stuff. So if we're responsible to teach high felony stops or high hazard stops, we don't just send one instructor, we may send 4. But that counts as an hour of instruction they have to have, right? So staffing wise, I can't tell you. We reached out to them recently. We haven't received word this time how much or if they're going to require us to instruct part of it. But we've decided that if it will save us 3 months between, say, May and August, that we'll go through that. I may have to pay quite a bit of overtime to do that training. But if we can get enough people here locally and get them into an academy with that projected 10-month wait, looking 10 months out, we're there. We'll probably need to do that. We're just waiting to hear if the academy is willing to do that. The local one that we use.
The employees that's left here recently, are you at liberty to say where they went to other departments, or what was their goal?
2 went to private sectors, 1 to another department.
Would you say that's wages the main reason for losing those officers?
I think that was a large part of the consideration. I can't tell you that we're ever going to make anybody rich as police officers, right? So there's always the possibility and the likelihood, and I believe those two felt they could make more money outside of law enforcement. But as I look back over the 5 years, we've lost, I think I reported in January we had lost 11 to other departments. So we're looking at maybe a 12th. Recently, I lost one to an ISD police department, which historically don't pay what cities do. And he told me he was going for comparable wages. I recently had somebody tell me there was another ISD looking at one of my employees for comparable wages, which has me concerned. That's usually not typical. We do a very different job as city police officers.
Okay, well, that's certainly understandable. Counsel, do you have any questions? Do you have one? Okay. Well, I'll tell you this, it's very important that we keep the officers, especially in those senior positions. And we definitely want to resolve whatever issues that we have that is causing us to lose the officers. It's nothing more important than to have, especially our homegrown officers, the ones that are from here, that know the people that out there in the community. We do want to retain those officers. So I want to say that we do appreciate each and every one of you guys.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Chief, one more question. On the, we discussed previously there in January about the change in the nepotism policy. How have we gotten that out in the community or around because that's been a statute that stood here for forever, up until just here recently, where if someone, dad works in the Parks Department, that they could still be a police officer now. How are we getting that out to the employees and the public?
Well, honestly, we put it out to our employees. If you want me to tell you the bold truth, our employees are our best recruiters. And so they have gotten the word out as they talk to people that they know. We did have one person that applied that we had to turn away because of the current, still what's in the current policy. But our employees are our best. So that we send them to recruiting, and honestly, the best people we get usually are the people from my agency who are talking to people that they know, and so they're able to express that policy to them.
Chief, you just said you turned one away because of a current policy, the current nepotism policy.
Yeah, he was related, I think it was a brother-in-law of one of my current employees, and he wasn't the 2 removed yet. He was at the 2.
Okay, well, thanks, Chief. We certainly appreciate it. We appreciate you guys all coming.
Mayor and Council, it would be good to get some direction from you. I think that the purpose of this meeting, and I think I don't want to try to tell you what the employees are here about, but I think they would like to know, the question is can we do a mid-year adjustment or not? So we'd like to have some direction as we leave here, or if we leave here now without any instruction, we're kind of right back where we started.
Well, I'll open that up to the council.
So Ed, how much additional funding did you find in other departments that have not fulfilled those positions at this time?
Well, like I said, it's across this city in departments, and it's a little over $200,000 that we found. Doing what we wanted to do with the police is about $100,000, but then there's $100,000 left for the other employees.
Okay. Well, like I said before, we want to do what we can to resolve this issue. So what we can do is look into see how we need to go about using those funds, and we can go from there. Okay, so with no further questions or comments on this item, I'll go ahead and close this item on the agenda and move on to item 3. Item 3 on the agenda is to consider approval of resolution 2022-6, authorizing the city to participate as part of a coalition of cities in proceedings to be held by the Railroad Commission of Texas related to implementation of House Bill 1520.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a request from the gas company to increase funds, rates, so that they can do some work on their facilities. And all this does, this is a routine request to, it will hold their request at bay and allow the attorneys to get together and negotiate with them and the road commission on a rate or no rate. And the cities that participate, all participate, and then whatever rate is selected, we come back and consider that resolution later. So this allows our attorneys to go negotiate with the Railroad Commission and the Centerpoint Gas. So we recommend approval on it.
Okay. All right, council, we have any questions on it? If not, the floor will be open for a motion.
This has been an item that we've participated in for a number of years, if I recall right.
Yes, this is the route. Every time there's a pay request for SWEPCO or the gas, this is the procedure. We send a coalition of cities send a representative in to negotiate with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That way we have a voice in it. With that, if there's no other question, I'll make a motion we approve this resolution 2022-6, authorizing the city to participate in this part of a coalition of cities.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Dale, second by Councilman Chappelle. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor and Council, let me just also say, I failed to say that, and y'all may remember this, but the funds to pay for the attorney that do this comes out of the settlement, and the utility pays for those, and they're approved by the Railroad Commission also. So it's no funds out of the city; it comes out of the settlement.
Okay, thank you for that motion, Ed. That vote carried unanimously. I want to now go ahead and close that item on the agenda. We'll now move on to item 4. Item 4 is to consider approval of pay request from GM Roberts, INC, DBA Corrosion Eliminators for work on the School Street elevated storage tank. Ms. Brittany?
Mayor and Council, before Brittany starts, let me just tell you that these pay requests are for January and February. Is that right? January, February, March. February and March. We made the last payment in January, and if you remember, we were told that they would be finished about the 15th of February or end of February, and so it was made at the time we were determining whether to pay that, and I think Lanny with KSA said, well, since they're going to be done in February, the next payment we get will be the final. So we'll pay in January, then we'll have a final. It turns out that it wasn't the final, and so when there was a request in February or March to pay February's bill, I took it off and to ask Lanny. I thought this was the final bill, and he explained, well, they didn't finish in time like they thought. And so the next meeting we had, remember, we didn't have things on the first meeting. It was the second meeting in March. So this is the first meeting that we could put the pay request for February. And then March, they finished March, and it's there. And I agreed with the contractor that we'd put both of those pay requests on now. We are at the end. The next one will be a final one, but these are 2 pay requests that I'm asking you to approve tonight, so they can pay their subs. And Brittany has all the answers to where they are and what they're doing, but the tank looks real pretty, I think.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And just to follow up with what Ed was saying, it is for the time period of January 26th through March 25th. So it's pay request number 15 and 16. And pay request 15 was in the amount of $34,675. Pay request, I'm sorry, that was 15. 16 is $17,123.75. And I wanted to just kind of go over the total amount for contract. So the adjusted contract amount is $700,000. $32,435. After these two are paid, they will have been paid $645,786.25. And there's still a 5% retainage that will be on the final pay request.
So did you do the math and tell us what the remainder is?
I don't know the percentage. They are 93% complete on budget.
Brittany, run those numbers one more time for me. Tell me what the total was, and then we're at 645, 786, and tell me what the total contract was now.
Total contract was $732,435. And after 5% retainage, which they will be paid if this is approved, is $645,786.25. The retainage is 5%. Right now, it's $33,988.75. And they have a representative here tonight if you want to hear them speak about just final cleanup and close out on the project.
Yes, I would like to hear that. Good evening, sir. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you, Mayor. Okay, basically where we're at is the painting is complete. Got a few touch-up items that I'm going to be taking care of. The tank has water in it. It's full. I'll be pulling a sample tomorrow. So once I pull the sample and take it and have the lab test it, we get the back T results back. Provided everything's good, which it should be, then it'll be back in the service. So, does anybody have any questions for me? Because okay, antenna.
That's the second half. Have you already done an initial site walk to create a punch list? I guess that's some of the touch-up paint you're talking about, and those will be addressed before they put the antennas up, or some of them will be have to be addressed after the antennas are up.
There's not anything that's left that's going to have any effect on the antennas. Now, Brittany's been in contact with the people in reference to the antennas. We were supposed to have a crew on site on Monday to deal with part of the antennas. She might speak to that real quick. Huh? Okay, Verizon was supposed to be on site on Monday, but I've not seen them there. And T-Mobile is scheduling to install or do the swap over on the 17th. Now both entities were notified weeks ago of being able to get that stuff done. They just had to go through their scheduling process.
Okay, we thank you for that information.
Any other questions?
Brittany, I've got a question. So you're saying we're holding roughly 86.6 in money plus 33,988 in retainage. Is that correct, or is the 866 include the retainage? The 86,649 is what we got left remaining on the contract. Does that include the retainage or not?
It does. There's also a miscellaneous allowance that was $25,000 that wasn't used. So if you're trying to figure out what's left, that's part of it.
So there's 86.6 roughly plus another 25
No, it's part of that.
for that.
Okay, if there's no further questions at this time, we'll go ahead and open the floor for a motion on this item.
Hey, Brittany, one more thing. Before you come back to request the last, could we just get a tally of what the liquidated damages could possibly be? I would like to at least know what the tally is of possibility, whether we choose to use that or not.
Yes, do you want it with the pay request at that council meeting? Okay.
Thank you, Brittany. Okay, as I previously stated, this item is open for motion.
I make a motion that we approve pay request as presented tonight.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Chappelle, second by Councilman Adams. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. We'll now close that item on the agenda. Our next agenda item, item 5, is consider award bid for administrator of HMGP grant.
Now, this is Mikhail and you all that interviewed the engineers and so forth, so, and you need a microphone so we can hear you.
So this is for the administrator of the grant. We only had one person to apply, which was Trailer and Associates. So we didn't have to do much on that one. And we sent it out to 8 different companies, but Trailer and Associates is the only one that sent something back.
And the grant is for,
It's the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program.
well, you've got, why don't you go ahead and tell them what the next one is too, and then they can just vote on each one.
And the next one is for the engineering. We had 2, which was KSA and SPI. And in your package, you'll see the rating sheets for both. And those are the only 2 that sent something back. And we did send it out to 8 different companies.
And if you remember, Trailer Associates, the folks out of Tyler that we've got that's helped us get a couple of grants so far. So we go back every year and try to work on another grant. So they're actually pretty good and doing this for years.
Okay. All right, council, the floor is open for motion on this item.
Actually,
You have a question?
on the engineering portion of it, was there a, maybe I'm just missing it, is there a recommendation on which one of these, Trailer wanted?
KSA.
Oh, for the engineer. Floor is open for a motion for item 5.
Mayor, I just have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
So on item 5, Taylor and Associates, who was the only one that applied, is that they're being paid through the grant money, or where's the funding to pay them coming from?
It's always done through the grant. What they do is they'll write the grant, and then they ask to be the administrator of the grant. So we pay them a percentage or a flat fee. I don't remember. But if we don't get the grant, we don't pay them anything. They're only paid if we get the grant and they administer something.
And like you said, we've used them several times in the past over the years and been well satisfied and pleased with them. And so we're familiar with them and their work, which is good.
I've used that company since 1983. It was Wesley Trailer's daddy, Gary Trailer. We worked for years, and now his son's got the business.
I'll move that we award the bid for administrator of the HMGP grant to Trailer and Associates.
A motion by Councilman Adams, second by Councilman Walker. Madam Secretary, record a vote, please.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We'll go ahead and close item 5. Item 6 was to consider award of engineering bid for HMGP grant. I think we just with KSA. So it's going to KSA. We just kind of spoke on it a little bit, but if we have any questions on it, we can ask. If not, the floor will be open for a motion on it.
I'll move we award the engineering bid to KSA.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Councilman Adams, second by Councilman Dale. Madam Secretary, record a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
This vote carries unanimously. We'll now close that item on the agenda. Our next item is public comment, item 7. At this time, the floor is open for anyone that would like to come up and address the council. I ask that you please limit your time to 2 minutes and state your name and address.
Mayor, council, city manager, my name is Ashton Lewis. I get 2 minutes, right?
Yes, sir. 2 minutes.
Okay, I'd like to echo what the chief said tonight about fixing the pay. It's paramount to any community that first responders be taken care of, and certainly in compensation. As you all know, we're in unprecedented times in terms of our economic stability. Qualified applicants such as police officers, fire, are in short supply. We have been very patient since 2019 when this pay scale got implemented. Currently, I say no one, let me retract that. There are several people in the police department that are not being paid accordingly to time and service and experience, okay? I have an officer who's a veteran officer with the PD. He has 6 years of experience, got 5 kids and a wife, and he's being paid at a 5-year officer. That alone stifles our recruiting ability. We are limited in that aspect. How can we confidently recruit qualified applicants, qualified laterals with 6-7 years of experience if we can't pay them at the risk of paying them more than a person that is currently working at the city for that amount of time? Okay, it's unacceptable. And what has been done is that the PD and the applicants and everyone that works here, it's just been words. Okay. You guys have got to step up and let these officers know that you're gonna take care of this. It can't just be, oh well, we're working on it. Oh, we're gonna do this, because we have been going through the chief, and the chief did a great job. All right, I would like to say that he did a great job and expressed the needs of the department. He has certainly got the support of everyone over there, 100%. But this has got to be fixed, and you guys have got to spearhead it. You have got to confidently invest in these people. It's just like he said. The city of Mount Pleasant has always been a stepping stone. We train these cops up. We pay thousands and thousands of dollars for training only to benefit the next municipality. Myself, today, I put in my resignation. I have 14 years of experience. I'm a master peace officer. I hold 2 college degrees, okay? Thousands of hours of training. I'm on multiple aspects within the department, several other details. And the city's gonna lose that. And not on top of that, I'm local. I'm born and raised Mount Pleasant, bleed it, born and raised Mount Pleasant. Okay, walk some of these streets barefoot. It is a huge honor to patrol these streets, and the fact that we've been dismissed for so long is unacceptable. I have been in shootings, I have worked murders, I have worked child-involved crimes, I have registered sex offenders, I have created policy in this city for sex offenders that did not exist, myself and my cohorts, Detective Durant. All those people have come together. That's what's working for this city, okay? It has to be known that you guys are going to spearhead it, and it is going to be fixed moving forward. If not, I'm telling you, you will lose more experienced officers. You will lose more experienced officers. It's just a matter of time, and I release the rest of my time.
All right. Thank you, Ashley. We appreciate it. And as I stated before, we certainly value you guys, and this is something that we do want to fix. I can say for myself, and I can assure you the council will do what we can do to make sure that you guys are taken care of. I need to get you the, yeah.
Council, my name is Tyler Owen. I'm with the Texas Municipal Police Association. I'm also a full-time police officer, deputy sheriff for Harrison County. I'm here tonight over an explosive email that city manager Ed Thatcher wrote yesterday at 4:45 p.m., and I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. Everyone, I want to make sure I notify you all that you are welcome to come to city council tomorrow. However, none of your employees are welcome to attend. I want to put each of you in charge of making that happen. If any employees attend, they will not be held accountable, but you, the department director of the employees, will be held accountable. Call me if you do not understand. I'm sure many of you are aware of the Open Meetings Act passed by the state legislature. Mr. Thatcher, who has 37 years experience, he's been in this business of city government as long as I've been alive, should be, well, that's even worse, sir. 42 years of experience should know the Texas Open Meetings Act. This explosive email sent shockwaves, not only within the PD, but within your entire city employee group. If any of these Mount Pleasant, but by the way, this is a violation of their rights, okay? If any of the men and women of Mount Pleasant PD violated any citizen's civil rights, I think we can all agree that we'd have a major problem on our hands. And we at TMPA recognize what this man did yesterday, and we're asking for the immediate dismissal and resignation of Mr. Thatcher. He talks about accountability in his email, holding department heads accountable. Well, I'm asking you to hold him accountable at the same regard for in attempting to violate these people's civil rights. I'm going to reflect back to Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership. Jocko Willink references, there's never bad teams, only bad leaders. You've been here since 2019. It's time for you to take ownership and to fix the problems. Or if not, allow somebody that can. I yield my time. Thank you.
Let me ask one quick question of you. Mr. Tyler or Mr. Owens? The first name? Okay. Mr. Tyler Owens, let me ask you, how many of the city employees have you visited with other than the police department when you indicated there that what an uproar how many? Give me a number. 2, 3, 10, 15? Have you ever been to Mount Pleasant before at a city council meeting?
We need you to push that button right
I frequent Mount Pleasant often. I've got family from Pittsburgh. I live in Jefferson, and I used to work for Marshall PD.
Okay, I was just curious. I've been on the council nearly 11 years, and I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting you before. Haven't seen you make any presentation before, so I was just curious on where you...
Well, typically we show up when there's a problem, and I've only been with TMPA since 2017, and I can assure you there's a problem sitting to your right.
And what is your position with TMPA?
I'm a field representative, so I represent the officers, and our motto is the Texas law enforcement. We're the voice of Texas law enforcement. So I haven't had the pleasure of coming to Mount Pleasant in this capacity as far as addressing you as the council, and it's been truly an honor tonight, and I appreciate your time.
Do we have anyone else at this time that would like to come up? Okay. Yeah, would you like to?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, let me just...
Go ahead.
Danny Beard, Mount Pleasant Fire Department. Live out in the county. Worked here for 33, 34 years, going on a number of times. Our department received the same email. Our chief did. We talked about it. The consensus of our department was, we're going to trust Ed in this. I told Tim privately before we started this council meeting, and I will state it now publicly, that I do believe he's the best city manager we've had in my career. And I've had a number of city managers. And the email is the email, but I don't think it was maliciously intended. I think it was trying to keep from having a storm so that no one came in here and bullied y'all, that you didn't feel bullied or anything like that. I think he was just trying to do damage control beforehand. Would have probably worded it better, but we've all written probably some emails or said some things we wish we could have worded differently after time and having a look at it. And I just wanted to say that personally, I think Ed is doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I was just going to say some of the things that Chief Beard said is that yesterday late I understood that I was told that the Police Association was getting a lot of guys to come in tonight, maybe some citizens. And in an effort to try to help them, help us, we had this sensitive thing, mid-year deal. It's a big deal. This is a big deal. And I didn't want a situation where maybe the council felt threatened or whatever. and because we really need to address this problem. So it turned out not to work like I thought or whatever. I was in a hurry and trying to get the word out. But I truly hope that you employees have come tonight and shown your support for this. I truly hope it works in your advantage, and it helps us get to a resolution of this. I truly do.
I'd like to make one statement. We all get, from time to time, you take a snapshot of what goes on at any one moment. And you can make that look or read or see anything that you want to see. Now, I saw the email. It didn't sound right. It didn't look right. But I'd like for y'all to understand, we'll make sure every one of you understand, before this meeting took place, there were 2 subsequent emails that went out, and it was straightened out. So it wasn't something, it was one snapshot of one moment in time, and it was fixed, because y'all are all welcome to us anytime you need to be. I think all of you know where I'm at. Some of you have come to me from time to time. I do not have a problem with that. I'm probably not going to talk about face-to-face with you about pay, but any other issues that you have, I'd be glad to talk to you about. I've had some of you come to me about other issues. And we've changed some policies, like nepotism, based on some conversations that we've all had. We're all friends. We can get through this. It's not, I just want y'all to understand, we're here for you, but we want to make sure that you know that there's some things that we really need to talk about with Ed and his employees, because the way that this managerial system set up that we have, we do not have any direct control over the employees per se. We have 3 people that we're responsible for. And we try to hold to that as much as we can. And if one of you come to us with a problem, then or a citizen comes to us with a problem, we try to go to the department head or Ed and let him resolve the situation. In this case, it'd be with your chief. And we do appreciate y'all. And we do appreciate y'all. Y'all are welcome to come. Y'all are welcome to talk. But we just want to make sure y'all understand, if there's something that doesn't look right, we're going to handle it. We're going to take care of it. So, I don't know the representative from Marshall, but trust me, y'all know me. I know y'all, and y'all trust us to handle the situation, and it got handled. So, anyway, I just want to make sure y'all know that y'all can come to us, okay? Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anyone else at this time? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Jason Hill. I'm a canine officer with the Mount Pleasant Police Department. First and foremost, I want to make sure that everybody understands, us as the police department, our representatives that have come, we're not here to make anybody feel bullied. That is the first thing, or the furthest thing from our mind, because y'all make decisions that affect us. We all have families. I was born in Mount Pleasant, been here all my life. I've been in law enforcement since I was 19. I love where I work. I love the people that I work with. All we're asking is to make sure that we get taken care of. Law enforcement, first responders are the cornerstone that the city is built on. And if we don't feel like we're being taken care of, we want to make sure that we're here and we're heard. The only reason we are here. I appreciate all the work that everybody has done. And us as a department, we appreciate that. We stand behind our chief 100%. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We have anyone else at this time?
I'd like to speak for a moment. I have 23 years experience in criminal justice in a degree from East Texas State University. I retired as the Assistant Regional Director of Parole for the Northeast Texas area for public safety with 9 officers in 28 states. And I understand public safety. I've worked with every form of law enforcement that there are, FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshals, in my career. And I'd just like to say tonight that public safety is important to me. And when we had the meeting on January the 18th, it was stated that we would try to wait until we got with the budget, the new budget, and we would incorporate it in the new budget cycle. And that's the question that I'm going to say tonight. After we've had all this discussion tonight, I would like that wait till we can do the survey and the study that we have scheduled. And then when we begin the next cycle in June for the next budget year, that we look at these issues as a part of that, because we're already under this budget cycle. But I do understand public safety. I put my life on the line for 23 years at the parole office. I'm on the city council, true enough, but I worked at the parole office downtown for 20 years. And then I worked at a private sector job. I worked downtown for 30 years. I understand public safety, and I understand retention. When I retired, there was some times you'd have problems hiring people just to get people, but it's something that you run into in the recruitment process. But I've always believed that you stay steadfast with the problem, and I do understand public safety because I have an entire career that I have under my belt from doing it. And not just here in Mount Pleasant. I've traveled from Mount Pleasant to Austin to Beeville for my whole career. I lived here, but my career was out of Austin at 8610 Shoal Creek. So I understand public safety, that part of it. And I'm asking you all tonight, if you will, when we get the opportunity, when we go in the budget and we take a comprehensive look at the budget to deal with this issue so we can cover the entire gamut of the city business, so that the police issue here, we can look at it and see the best resolve. But right now in the middle of a cycle of a budget, it's difficult because they just stated that you had $200,000, but $100,000 goes for the police department, and you only had $100,000 for the other department. There are other departments, and we have to just take a comprehensive look at city government in the hierarchy. And I do understand. And Ashton, I've known you all your life, of course. I know everybody. I've been here all my life too, for over 50 years, and I've been retired for 5. And I've seen all kind of crimes you can name, whatever. I've seen it in my career at the parole office. But I'm asking you tonight is to give us the opportunity to make a comprehensive look at it from a governmental standpoint to make the best decision that is for the city.
Let me just say on my behalf that I appreciate each one of you being here this evening. You know, I listened here back in January. At that time, there was just a handful of people out here in the audience. And I heard Chief, all of his comments, all his concerns. I understood all of it, probably 30, 45 minutes. You know, hiring and retaining employees is a problem anywhere across the United States today. It don't matter what business you're in. I dare anyone name one business that don't have a problem in hiring and retaining right now. You know, 2020 and 2021 was very unusual years. You know, we pray to our Heavenly Father that we don't see any like that or worse than that coming forward. But each year, you know, as we listen to these concerns of the citizens and employees, each year, we and other government entities, including schools, hospitals, large businesses, all do a budget. A budget is critical for a business or a government entity to know where we're going to spend the tax revenue, what revenues we have coming in, where they're going to go. You know, we understand, and I absolutely do, from the conversation back in January, that the retention issue with not only the police but other areas in our city, there are issues, people leaving, going to other operations here within our community that are paying wages you never thought you would see them be able to pay. We know that. You know, I'm fortunate. Since I've been on the council here, we never had an audit committee or anything. We formed that the last couple of years, where we have an audit committee where we deal directly with our auditor. When the auditor, there's not a middle person. They come in. Councilman Walker and I have the pleasure of serving on that. You know, we got a great bill of health this year. We don't know until the budget comes up, which is, we start budget talks, you have to remember here in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we start budget talk. These are so critical. I call it, the city manager, as you know the process, the city manager is the one that gets with the department heads. The department heads visit with him. I call it a Christmas want list of everything that you want. Kind of prioritize it, go from top to bottom, is the way I've seen it over the years that I've had the pleasure of serving you, the employees, and the citizens. They come to us, he weans out some of it, then, in this administration, we actually get to interact with department heads, let them tell us why they think this or that is something that they need. I think that's important for them to be able to provide information to us on why we need that. But I just want everyone to understand that I'm totally for the police, the fire, parks, utilities, the street departments, office personnel. This process of a budget is something that we have to go through. And as we work on it here in the next few weeks, I will assure you that this is going to be one of our top priorities, is to look and find funds and see what we've got coming in, see what our property taxes are. As most of you know, there's lots of income the city gets from property taxes, from sales tax, from utility fees, water, sewer. There's the landfill out here. There's lots of revenue. We have to see each year what we're getting before we know what we can spend. But I understand and I appreciate you being here tonight, and we will definitely look at this and try to, on this next budget, it'll be a top priority for us.
Okay, with that being said, I'll just say that I concur with what our council has put out. We will be doing the best that we can do to resolve this issue, as I stated before. If no one else at this time have anything else, I'm going to go ahead. Councilman Sproul, you have something? Go right.
In case you don't know me, I'm Sherry Sproul. I'm in my second term serving. When I got involved in the city council a few years ago, I had no idea. I know a lot of you know me, and some of you know about me, and some of you don't know me at all. Every time I sit up here for every meeting, I listen to every word. I try to read the agendas that are put out before us. I listen to the personnel when I get a chance, and the citizens. I honestly appreciate each of you in here. I did not know, and for those of you that don't know, this is not really, quote, too much of a paying job. We get $25 a month to spend hours and hours and hours. This council, I do want to say to you about this council, some of us drive a Ford, some of us drive a Chevy. I think a couple of us might ride a horse. I'm not sure. But I will say this about the people that I'm privileged to serve with. I would vote for each of them again. I do know that when we listen to these issues on behalf of everybody, they put much thought, prayer sometimes, consideration into it. I don't know of one of them up here that is up here just to show out or advance themselves in any way. They truly care. Any decision that we make, there's always going to be, it's hard to get a unanimous consent from people these days. We have to balance so many concerns, needs, desires. We do live in an ever-changing world. Used to, things changed and happened a little slower. Sometimes it's by the day that we have to evaluate the needs and the concerns of our city. And I take it very seriously. I know these guys do, and I don't speak for them, but I am going to speak for myself. One of the things that I've learned in the last 3 years is it is a city process. There is a structure in place, okay? And it's going to be best for the city as a whole. That means employees and citizens that live here and work here, this is their home, have property, investments, do business. It's going to be best going forward, I believe, if we try to stick to more of a structure of how we handle all the concerns. I do welcome everybody here. We can meet in the football stadium if we need to, weather permitting. I want everybody to come. I love it. I love being in America. I like it when we all can come and have our voices heard. And that means everyone in this room, and I take it to heart. But for me going forward, just to make it, I'm going to simplify it 1 out of 5. When we have to come to a vote, going forward, as long as I serve on the council, I'm going to be a no vote on any mid-year adjustments that are not catastrophic emergencies. I understand there's things that happen. Earthquakes, fires, 100-year storms, maybe even attacks. I understand that. I want to hear it, needs and wants. I do believe in a well-funded and well-secure law enforcement from top to bottom. That's from the city to the county to the Army and the Navy. Okay, if you want to see me shed a tear, somebody walking in a uniform, I think it's a calling in this country to wear a uniform and to serve the community and the people. I do appreciate you, and that's not just for city employees and budgets. It's also for the community at large. I'm making this statement. There's a lot of people who have great ideas, and they get up, they don't realize sometimes how we have to look at our budgets. And they want us to come and get involved and join into a private or some kind of entity that wants to do a benevolent act for the city. I certainly appreciate everyone's gifts and want to help us, and I hope we don't overlook one. And I'm certainly for them. But I don't think it's good, even in those ways, to vote off budget for anything. So going forward, I never say 100%, but 99% sure that I will be a no vote on a non-budgeted time of an issue. I do want to hear them. They're important. If it is an emergency, if we can show it's an emergency, that's a different issue. But otherwise, we need to take it. A year rolls by pretty quick. I just turned 60 and I feel like I should be 40. But I understand, and we're never going to please everybody. I wish I could. I wished I could. I try to, because I really do care. I care about the employees. I also care about the citizens that live here. So just to make it simple, if it's, no matter what it is, and it's not just this issue, there's other issues that are coming at us off budget. And I will consider them. They will be considered, but I will have to, just to help simplify it, don't come expecting a vote from me for anything. That doesn't mean I'm against the issue. Doesn't mean I'm not going to vote for it. It means when I'm going to vote for it. So that'll simplify it just a little bit, hopefully. And there's another issue, too, that I want to address since we're taking this time. I am so glad we're able to honor people in our community with various accolades and memorials of naming and honoring them with names of different structures and different streets and different things. For one, I have said this before, and I think it's time to reiterate it. If we're going to do that, I think it should be only in posterity after someone has passed. Again, things change daily. I know there's been a lot of change going on lately, and what people stood for today, they may change due to circumstances or just a change of heart tomorrow. Once that person's gone, they're not going to change anymore. And so I trust the future generation to look back at us and see our performance, and hopefully we leave a good legacy, and they can do some of those things. So I also don't think it's proper to use living people, because what do we do if they change? Do we unname it? And therefore, I'm really afraid of that. Change is happening quicker than I can keep up with it. I can't even learn how to use a phone till it's time to get another one. And so just to be clear on all that, I just wanted to make that statement. And I do love you and I appreciate you. I'm fighting for you. I don't do this lightly. It's a hard decision, but I'm going to stick to more of the structure of the timelines.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Okay.
Am I good for 2 minutes? Okay. I'm not a public speaker, so y'all bear with me, okay? I've been with the city for almost 7 years. To give a different perspective on things, usually on a shift we have 5 people. We're so short-handed. Most shifts are 4. If anybody takes off, we're running 3. Luckily, with our department, anytime we have any high-risk calls, we go 2. We want to be as safe as possible, okay? We give an example. One night we had a domestic disturbance at one hotel. We had a sexual assault that just occurred at another hotel, and then a 911 hang-up on the other side of town at a house that we just had a drive-by at within a few hours past. We We had 3 people working that night. Okay, so we have to call county, and you know how big Titus County is, so our help was not even close. That's what we're dealing with when we're so short-handed, okay? And then you have all these new officers. They need the older officers, the veteran officers who's going to help mold them, okay? And thankfully, when I started, I was on a shift where I did have officers that had years experience that did help mold me into a better officer. And then I ended up promoting and get on a shift where I had 4 officers that literally just got out of FTO. And so it's a lot of work, okay? So this is just a different perspective on it. This is why we need people. Our job is already dangerous, and it's even more dangerous when we don't even have the help. We don't have the backup. We don't have, can y'all imagine being on the ground rolling around and thinking, oh, I have my other 2 people on the other side of town on a disturbance call, okay? So if y'all would just think about that, I appreciate y'all's time, and I appreciate that y'all say y'all appreciate us, but like we said, we just want y'all to show it, okay?
Got you. I can certainly relate to that. I know Officer Lewis, I spoke with him, and he also knows that I'm a former police officer myself. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. But your concerns is my concerns too, okay? So we will, again, do the best that we can do to resolve this issue. Okay. Did you have something, sir? Okay. Yeah, all right. At this time, we'll go ahead and close. Megan? All right. Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and close the public comment section and move on to our next item on the agenda, which is our city manager's report. Ed?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I don't have anything tonight, but I can take any questions that you may have.
Council, we have any questions? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and close the city manager's report. Move on to our executive session. Tonight we'll be going into executive session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Texas Government Code. The City Council will recess into executive session to discuss the following. Personnel matters, discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of public officer or employee. Litigation, consult with outside legal counsel retained by the city regarding pending or contemplated litigation or a settlement offer and or matters in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code related to water purchase contracts. At this time, the council will go into executive session. Time is now 9:08 p.m. We are reconvening back again from our executive session. There's no action taken during the session. At this time, the council is adjourned.